I am hiking Mount Tecumseh today. It's a 4,000 footer here in New Hampshire. I'm doing it solo, but my goal for this video is to share with you some things that I do on my winter hikes to keep me as safe as possible. So before I even hit the trail, I want to make sure I'm hiking on a good weather day. The resource I use is mountainforecast.com. And I can type in a summit of a mountain and it will give me the forecast for the summit, because that's going to be a lot different than the forecast for down below near the closest town. A couple things I look for in a good weather day is low wind, clear skies, and not that much precipitation. So you can see on the screen for the hike I'm doing today, all those boxes are checked. I'm a decent chunk into the hike right now, and the weather seems pretty accurate, but you got to keep in mind it's not going to be accurate all the time. You just got to take it with a grain of salt. If I see a wind that's so high that the numbers are in red, I will probably not be hiking that day. Wind can make you cold so fast in the whites. I feel like Mount Tecumseh sometimes is just one giant staircase. So I already knew the trail was going to be pretty easy to do in the winter, so that's why I chose this one today. I also want to make sure I'm picking a mountain that's going to be hikeable in the winter. Some roads to trailheads are just flat out closed in the winter and you can't access them. There's also a lot of trails in the whites that have a lot of obstacles. Like you probably saw in one of my recent videos when I hiked the Glen Boulder Trail, there was a huge rock slab that I couldn't get over. I picked the Mount Tecumseh Trail because I've been here a lot and the trail is pretty straightforward. There's no huge obstacles to climb over. There's water crossings, but they're very easily passable. There's a lot of trails in the whites that are above tree line, but those kind of sketch me out a little bit in the winter. So the one I'm on right now is 4,003 feet. It does not go above tree line, but there's a little view at the top. So I get to see a view, but I still get to be sheltered. There's going to be trees all around me for the whole hike, and I'm not going to be as exposed to the elements. I'm pretty consistent when it comes to my layering system in the whites. I found something that worked really well for me. So on the top, I have a base layer, I have a fleece mid layer, which is this blue hoodie, and I have a puffy jacket. In my backpack, I also have a rain jacket that's going to be really good if it gets windy. It'll keep all the heat inside, and if it were to snow or rain or anything, it'll also keep me dry. For my pants, I have a water-resistant hiking pant, and it's actually lined with fleece, so my pants are keeping me really warm today. On my feet, I have Darn Tough wool socks with a winter waterproof hiking boot. I have this Survivor buff on my head. I wear it the whole hike. It keeps my ears warm and it keeps my hair out of my face. When it does get cold, when it starts to get windy, or when I'm at the summit and I stop moving, I'll wear my hood, but I just flat out don't like hiking in a hat. It just gets really hot for me. On my hands, I have these fleece gloves, and I also have waterproof rain mitts in my pack. I wear those if I have to start using my hands to climb a little bit and I don't want these to get wet. I also have rain pants in my pack. This is such a key piece of gear for me because if my legs were to get cold on a hike, I'll put rain pants over my hiking pants and my legs warm up so fast. They also help if it obviously starts to rain. Also, butt sliding is a thing in the whites, so if the trail has a lot of snow, you can kind of slide down the trail. I'll wear rain pants for that just so I don't get wet and cold. I have a really durable rain pants, so I don't have to worry about them ripping at all. I've been wearing all my layers besides my rain gear for this whole hike, just because it's really cold. It's about 0 degrees right now, but the layers are really easy to take on and off as needed. It's also important to manage your body heat. A couple times going up this mountain, I've had to kind of slow myself down because I noticed I was sweating a lot and I didn't want to be wet and cold because that's a very dangerous mix. If you're curious about the specific articles of clothing I'm wearing, all the links are going to be in this video description if you want to check them out further. Next, I want to go over some of the pieces of gear I take to keep me safe while winter hiking. First, you can see my Garmin InReach. This is a key piece of gear for me and it's such a peace of mind for my family. It has an SOS button on it, so if I ever were to be in danger, I could just press that button and emergency rescuers will have my exact coordinates. They'll send a message out to my family, and I also have two-way communication with the rescuers, so I can tell them what kind of situation I am and they can help me out the best they can. I've never had to use it, thank God, but it's there if I ever do. Next, a piece of gear I have on all my winter hikes is hand warmers. I feel like I'm gonna need them soon because I've been stopped for a while, but I always keep them in my pocket so I can get to them easily. It is so frustrating when your hands get so cold that you stop being able to like do things with them. So these warm up really quick. You don't have to shake them or anything, and they'll warm your hands up. They do their job. Next, I carry this butt pad in the winter. This is for taking breaks, so I don't have to sit on the cold snow, ice, or a cold rock. It just makes things a little more comfortable. Spikes come with me on every hike in the winter. You never really know how icy the trails are going to be until you're on it. When I started this hike, there was absolutely no snow or ice at the beginning, but it wasn't too far into the trail where the trail is covered in ice, and I don't think it would be possible without these spikes. And I do this year round, but especially in the winter, I always leave my hiking plans with someone at home so they know where I am. I just met Emily from New York who watches my videos, and she was so fun. I chatted with her for a little bit. She got a little excited. I also met Rhonda, who watches my videos, and another couple at the summit. So there's a lot of people out on the trails today. It's a really beautiful Sunday right now. It's also important to practice good food and water habits in the winter. So for water, I have my stainless steel Yeti with an electrolyte drink mix inside. I like the stainless steel because I know it's not going to freeze in really cold temperatures. I also have this smart water bottle, which another hiker gave me a tip to store it upside down because I think water at the top is more likely to freeze. So the water near the spout isn't going to be frozen and block the water from coming out. I also have my water filter in the pocket of my puffy jacket. That way it's accessible and I keep it warm because you don't want water filters to freeze because then they won't work anymore. So that's kind of my water situation. As for food, I pack more food than I think I need, which I do on all hikes, but especially in the winter, I pack foods that I know won't freeze. So this is what I brought. Picked them up at the Dollar General on the way here, and works out well. Had a nice little assortment of salty snacks, chocolate, protein, so very good choices for this hike. I will wait till I get back to my car to show you some of the smaller pieces of gear in my pack that I have to keep me safe, because I don't want to stop and start taking things out of my pack. I'd rather just keep moving and stay warm. And lastly, I stay safe on winter hikes by always being okay with turning around. If I get too cold, if the conditions get too bad, if it gets a little sketchy and dangerous on certain parts of the trail, I am always super okay with being safe and turning around and going back to my car. That includes if the hike is taking longer than expected, because I always try to finish my winter hikes before the sun goes down, especially by myself, because I can be a little bit of a wimp in the dark. I always go into the hike with the hope and the goal of making it to the summit, but the mountains are always going to be there, so I'm fine with bailing and doing the hike another time. Okay, I made it back to my car. I'll show you a couple more pieces of winter gear that I have on this hike with me, and that I most of the time have with me no matter what the season is, just to be safe. This little waterproof bag is where I keep a lot of gear. It might be small, but a lot of good stuff in here. And then inside the waterproof bag, I also have the stuff in a Ziploc bag for just an extra layer of protection. This might just look like a piece of paper, but this is actually a really important piece of gear. It is my Hike Safe card. It is specific to New Hampshire, but I donated $25 to the New Hampshire Fish and Game and got this card. On it, you have the 10 essentials, but from what I know about this card, I'm not like 100% certain. I will link the information in the description box, but from what I know, if you need to be rescued from a trail in New Hampshire and you have a Hike Safe card, most of the time you're not reliable on paying the cost of the rescue. So as long as you're doing things right and you have like gear and you're not putting the rescuers in a lot of danger, you don't have to pay for it. So that makes me feel a lot better, because I'm sure if I ever have to get rescued, it takes a lot of people. If a helicopter ever has to come, that seems like it gets expensive. On the Hike Safe card, it has the 10 essentials, which I carry with me. So the first one is a map. I have maps for the White Mountains. It has all the trails in it. I have a compass. For me, my primary source of navigation is the Gaia app on my phone. I also have my watch and my Garmin InReach, but that map and compass is just kind of like a last line of defense for me if I were to get off trail. The next essential is warm clothing, which I have a lot of warm clothing on this hike. Next is a headlamp. The days in winter are really short, so it gets dark really early. Having a headlamp is really important if the trail ever takes longer than expected. Next on the list is matches, which I have these, which are supposed to light in really bad weather, in the rain and everything, so I have quite a few matches. First aid kit. I have a pretty minimal first aid kit. I have a roll of gauze and some like Tylenol and Band-Aids. The most I've ever really used from a first aid kit is Band-Aids. Next is a whistle, which is actually built into my Hyperlite Mountain Gear pack, so that's super handy. Number 9 is a rain jacket and pants, which I have. And last is a pocket knife. I just have a little Swiss Army knife. Also has nail clippers, tweezers, and a couple other gadgets in it. So yeah, that's a lot of my safety gear. That's gonna do it for this video. Just a couple things I do in the winter to keep myself safe, especially when I'm out there by myself. I'm sure I miss things. Maybe I'll do a part 2 if I think of some more things I do or learn some new tips and tricks in the future. So hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. One of my favorite parts about winter hiking is that I can get an iced coffee on my way to the trail, drink half of it, and after my 4-hour hike, it's still iced coffee. Too much.